BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything sports betting. Every stat, matchup, breakdown, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during games. With the largest catalog of odds on everything from football, MLB playoffs, NHL, NBA, to political props. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with one of our over 150 slots games. Head to the website today to get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. Bet online. The game starts here. Welcome to Bleav in the Arizona Cardinals, part of the Bleav Network, joined by former tight end and Super Bowl 33 participant Ed Smith. My name is Javon Adams. Be sure to subscribe, comment, rate, and follow this podcast and tell all of your Arizona Cardinals fans and friends to do the same. You can also watch us on Bleav TV around the country, in airports, and on YouTube. Read the top Bleav stories at si.com and follow us across all of our socials. Bleav in the Arizona Cardinals. What is good, my brother Ed?
What's going on, brother Jay? Happy Friday to you, man. Another one to dive into here with these Los Angeles Chargers coming into town on Monday night. This is our primetime game coming up here. I hope we don't embarrass ourselves. Maybe that's why they put two of them on instead of just one, just in case we get embarrassed and you can turn and look away.
I believe that is why they do it. I seriously, I think that's why they do the two games, because one of them historically, and you remember this, when for Monday Night Football, there was a 5, 6, 7 year period where those Monday night games were kind of duds. Not the duds that we used to see on Thursday night, but duds nevertheless. And so I think that's why they try to give themselves a little bit of wiggle room and space to be able to operate.
I like it. You do have an opportunity to flip away if there is a bad game. And also you got to remember they were competing against baseball right now too. So, they don't want to give up an inch, the NFL is. So if you have two options to watch rather than a blowout, because a lot of people will flip over to that baseball game if the football is bad. And it's interesting that they put them on before. They used to stagger them a bit. Now, you got 45 minutes and boom, the next one starts. So they're like, forget that. We're just going right at it,
Exactly.
You make the choice.
So we do this thing twice a week. Mondays we look back on the game that was, and then Thursdays, but Fridays, since we have the Monday night game, so we figured we move it a little bit. We look upon the upcoming game, and so as Ed mentioned, the Los Angeles Chargers will be coming to State Farm Stadium on this for a Monday night matchup. The matchup of a 2-4 Cardinals team against the Los Angeles Chargers, who are 3-2, and it just kind of begs the question on a lot of things. I mean, there's. Of course, the name of the podcast is Bleav, and I don't know if we necessarily believe all that much right now in the Arizona Cardinals, as far as being able to going back to that consistency word, being able to really establish an identity, and I think that's, if nothing else, that's what the goal is for the rest of this season. I don't want to say it's a wash, but it's at 2-4, they got to win 2 games just to get back to 500. And then if they lose this one, then it's that math starts to they start to dig themselves a big hole. And so when you're looking at this game, the Chargers they're 8th in defensive pass yards per game. And then when it comes to the run game, they're 6th in defensive run yards per game. Where, if any, is the opportunity for the Cardinals? Because, and I'm going to get into maybe how Harbaugh doesn't seem to be maximizing his quarterback, and that's probably because of we'll get into that in a minute. But what do you see? Where's there the soft belly? Where's there the opening for the Cardinals to attack?
Well, typically with this Chargers team, and for whatever reason, some organizations are just stake bitten with injury. I think the Chargers' depth is going to be tested here a little bit because, they've got guys in and out of the lineup, it seems, all the time. As far as philosophy and identity, this is a true test. This will be a true test for the Cardinals because we always talk about teams and their identity. The Chargers, because of Harbaugh, have absolutely zero question about who they are. And we're going to talk about it in a minute, because we're going to talk about having this shiny, great quarterback that they're not even utilizing for the most part. Because you know what they do, Jay? They run the damn ball. That's what they do. They run the damn ball, and we
Yeah.
cannot stop the damn ball right now. So if you talk about they must be licking their chops right now. They might come in here. Well, you got to remember, this is Harbaugh's first taste back in the NFL after leaving for college for a little bit. He won a game last year at Michigan, a national championship team. They did not throw the ball in the second half. I think they
Right.
ran the ball like 50 or 60 times and ended up throwing
Yeah.
it a handful, right?
Right.
So that's his identity. He's going to come in here and he's going to say, strap it up and let's go. And until you stop it, you're not going to see anything but it. And they're going to, so for me, this is an opportunity for the Cardinals. It's almost like what's coming. There's no question of what's coming. You don't have to worry about any exotic blitzes or, this or that. You better be ready to stop the run against the Los Angeles Chargers. So you should have all the time. You got an extra day to do it too. We don't play till Monday. So to use that extra day to figure out how you're going to bring Buddha down into the flow of the game. We should have 8, 9 in the box sometime, depending on the circumstances. And we should be ready to plug holes, stop runs, and then force them, to beat us another way other than running the football. Now, if they come out and just put it on us, then, you're talking about a bad sign, because this is one of those, the car, you can see the headlights coming down the tunnel. If you get hit by this train, you deserve to be crushed, because in my opinion, there's no other way. So, like the ironic part would be if Harbaugh and the Chargers came out and they threw the ball 45 times against it. That's not happening. Yeah, like I said, you get ready for the run. This is our opportunity. You know it's coming. You got to stop it and then force them into another way to beat you. You can't allow them to run the ball, eat up the clock, walk out of here with a 20-13 victory or something like that. You got to force them to get out of that game plan that they're in. And this will be a test for our offensive coordinator, for our players up front, the line, linebackers filling holes. This is one of those, like I said, there's no question about it, what's going to happen and what we should be seeing early in this game.
So you mentioned that, and I want to get back to the point I made a second ago. But you mentioned that in terms of identity. But if that's the case, and when I think of Harbaugh, I think of running. But is this where stats can lie a little bit or be deceiving? Because if looking at it in terms of where rankings are, the Cardinals, they average 145 rushing yards per game, and so that's 7th in the league. And for rushing yards a game, the Chargers are 10th with 127. So is that one of those things that even though the numbers say something different, that it's just the philosophy of sticking with the run, whether you get 1 yard or 5 yards or whatever it is, you stick with it no matter what?
Absolutely. I think you are who you think you are in a lot of instances in the NFL. With the Chargers, they, when Harbaugh came in, that you saw what they did. They got rid of Austin Eckler, because Eckler wasn't considered an every down, like giving the ball 30 times a game type of back. He was more of a 20 carries, maybe 10 receptions, that type of guy. And that's not what Harbaugh wanted in there. Harbaugh is the type of dude that you're not going to force him out of his game. He is going to run the ball even when it looks like he can't run the ball or you're trying to stop him. And that's more the philosophy I'd like to see the Cardinals take from time to time, because, as we've talked about before, we don't have the talent to just match up against other teams and just throw it out there like he did, come get us. And I think we could benefit from time to time being a team that plays a little keep away, give the ball to Connor, grind out some of those 10, 11 play drives that might end up in a field goal. But what you're doing is you're keeping the ball away from the opposition. What we do a lot of times, 3 and outs, they turn into 3 or 7 points for the other team just because of the simple math. We're giving the ball to them for too long periods of time. We can't get off the field on third downs. So our defense is, dog tired. By that third, fourth quarter, you can tell they just got not a whole lot left in the tank. And then our depth is being challenged, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a cause and effect for everything. I wish we would ball control more, and obviously use Murray a little more as well, exotically. We're doing a lot of different things kind of bass backwards, as they call it. We're not running the ball, and then we're not. If we are going to throw it, we're not being creative enough with it and using the legs of one Kyler Murray, et cetera, et cetera. So when the question, if you have a tool, make somebody stop you from doing it, and that sometimes what'll happen is they might actually come up with a plan to stop you from doing it. You know what you do, Jay? You figure out another way to do it. Don't, because they stopped us. Oh, they stopped us, in the first quarter. We just couldn't run the ball. You know what you do? You start bringing, your bigger packages in. Linemen, serving as the extra tight end or whatever. You see what Detroit does. Detroit, they bring dudes in, and they just get at it. I mean, but there's more than just one way to do anything in life, in business, and in the NFL. We just tend to, well, that's not working, so we can't do that. And then we just bail away from it. And you'll see, I think on Monday, you're going to see the Chargers are going to show us what it's like to have a philosophy of we're going to run the ball regardless of how you try to stop us. I think that's what we're going to see from them. It could be a valuable lesson for us moving forward. Whether we learn the lesson or not is always a different story.
Bleav in the Arizona Cardinals, presented by Bet Online. So if we're looking at this, because before we get into how you use your personnel and whether you're using them taking advantage of their skill set, with the Cardinals, since the Chargers defensively, they're in the top 10 in both of those, as I mentioned, with defensive pass yards per game and defensive rush yards per game. They're 8th and 6th respectively. Would it make you as an off, if you're Petsing, does that make you want to, well, we can't establish that run identity this game because they might try to keep the ball away from us, and so therefore we just have to try to do what we can to push the ball down the field. I mean, when you're facing a team that's good in both categories, how do you approach it to be able to try to give your team the best opportunity to come out with the victory?
I always say there's more than one way to skin a cat, win a game, run a ball, et cetera, in the NFL. Here's the thing, Jay. At some point, you have to make up in your mind that we're going to do this, meaning we're going to run this ball, and we're going to, at least we're going to make an attempt. Every play that is run does not have to be a 80-yard touchdown. What we have to do is show it enough that it'll open up other parts of our game, though. Because we abandoned it so quickly sometimes, if we can't run the ball, Jay, what is the point of running play action? The linebackers are not going to respect your play action if you're averaging 2.1 yards per carry, or if you have a game in the second half where you did not run the ball not one time. What's the point of play action? So, I mean, there's a means to every play you run. There should be something. It should be, you can run something in the first half, Jay, to set something up in the fourth quarter when you need it. Your 2-point play or whatever it is. Show something to open something up later in the game. And that a lot of times that's the run. People are always like, why don't they just run the ball up the middle? Well, you script and kind of pattern everything. You hope that every play can be a play that pops out and goes for 80. And every play that's designed, you're hoping that everybody gets their block and there's a lane that's opened up and your running back gets through it and goes, right? But we all know there's a lot of 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 yard gains. Those 1 and 2 and 3, 4 yard gains should be setting other things up. We run this just like we run that later in the game in a crucial situation where it's 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. We line up in this and we hit them with that play action over the top because it looked exactly like what we ran earlier in the game. So there's a means to everything. We just don't. What I don't like about the Cardinals offense is we just do things willy-nilly. It never looks like there's a design to get to other things in our bag. It's like, well, let's try this. Oh, that didn't work. Okay. Like, we always talk about, you always bring up like the scripted plays, the first 15. I used to love that. We used to know because we used to know exactly what the first 15 were going to be pending circumstance. Obviously, you're not going to run a deep pass on a 3rd and 1 or something like that in the first 15 if that circumstance comes up. But I used to love because I used to know this is what we're running the first few. I'm in on these, and you practice, and this is exactly what we should see and hope we see. And, but it's also, like I said, it's to give us a look, an idea of how they're going to play certain packages, how they're going to cover when we come out in 11 personnel or if we come out in 3 wide or whatever it is. And like I said, there's a purpose for everything. We don't seem like we do anything with a purpose. And that's what I'm talking about, like lack of identity, lack of consistency, and lack of purpose. Let's continue to build on our ABCs of Easy and J. So we got the C word, we got the I word, and we got the P word now. Lack of purpose, bro. Like we got to figure out, certain things, why we do certain things. I have no idea. I'll watch because me, I dissect. When I'm watching a football game, I'm watching why they did this and why they brought this particular package in, and you see it, and it's like, it's like, wow, that was creative, and I'm not seeing that with our offense. And, there's got to be a reason why you do X, Y, Z. And that's what I'm still trying to figure out with these Cardinals. Why do we, and then if you're not going to do it, like we get away from things so quickly, it's like you never even gave it a chance to see what might come about, in this circumstance or that one. So very confusing all the way around as far as, and, like last year, Jay, I could say it's a young staff and they're still trying to figure it out. How long do you go into the process where you can still say that? We're deep into this next year, and it's like, okay, at some point we got to start seeing results and not, we still got to give them a break because they're still trying to figure it out. Now, at some point, you got to establish, certain pattern. They've established the pattern of being so inconsistent and like no zero identity. Maybe that's their identity. We're just gonna do whatever the hell we want to do when we do it, when we want to do it. So I don't know.
Bleav in the Arizona Cardinals. He's Ed Smith. I'm Javon Adams. We are presented by Bet Online. So before we get to what the Cardinals need to do to come out with a victory, I want to ask this because we talk about Kyler Murray a lot with his skill set. What about Herbert over there with the Chargers coming in? And I Bleav you were one of those that was, and I don't know if you still are, really high on Herbert and his potential having a high ceiling and a high floor, really talented quarterback. But it seems that the philosophy that's there now, that's great that you can do all those things, but what I need you to do is get really good at turning around and handing that ball off.
The ball off.
From a philosophical standpoint, do you think that his talent is being wasted with Harbaugh? And what is it like when you are coming into an organization, because Harbaugh didn't draft him, he wasn't there, so this is his first year with the Chargers, where this is what I have, this is my philosophy, square peg round hole type of thing. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, here's the thing. The overall, the goal of every good team, good organization, is to win football games. I don't care how you do it. And that old saying is better than to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it.
Yes.
Here's the thing with Herbert. Yeah, there are going to be plenty of games. I just saw the other day that he threw for his first 200-yard game last week, I think it was. And it's like, wait a minute, 200 yards? That's the benchmark for that was a great game as a quarterback, is like 300 yards. When we hear 300 yards, that's like, so he just threw for his first 200-yard game. And they still have 3 victories, right? So for me, it comes down to, okay, I'm sure they had to sit down. Harbaugh had to sit down with Herbert. This is what we're going to want from you. This is what we're going to need from you. This is what I expect from you. And the level of, that's all you're asking me to do, throw 20 to 25 times a game, probably turn around and hand it off, 35, get out of these plays, get into this. Herbert, initially probably, as a quarterback, you want to put up your stats. Everybody wants to go to Pro Bowls. They want touchdowns. They want X, Y, Z. In the end, though, it's all about them W's. And I'm sure it's a little bit of a hard pill for Justin to swallow from time to time. But as long as he's doing what he's supposed to do, and they start stacking W's. Now, here's the thing, and I brought up that saying earlier, better than having not to need it, need not have it. At some point, we know through a long season, there are going to be teams that, hey, we're not going to let them run the ball. If we got to put 12 guys on the field and stop the run, we're going to do that. So Herbert is going to have to come through. He's going to have one of those games where he throws for 350, 375, 3 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns, whatever it is. Those are going to come. It's just not going to be as much as he used to do. And, as long as he's good with making 260 yards and not doing as much as he used to do with as much on his shoulders, as long as he's good with that, I'm good with it. I had to recently, I dumped him on my fantasy. He's one of my backups on the fantasy team. That's not doing me anything when you turn around and hand the ball off and you just had your first 200-yard game, not 300. So, for us as fans, we want to see more high-flying and stuff like that. But if he's good with it and Harbaugh's good with it and they got their philosophy, their identity, and they do what they do, like I said, it's all about winning in the end. And I'm sure over the course of years, because you remember Harbaugh's he's in it for the long haul. Justin's going to be there for a while. They're going to come to a happy medium. And at some point, his number's going to be called. And he's going to have to step out the booth and be Superman. In the meantime, Clark Kent, turn around, hand it off, do what you got to do. You walk out there with enough, like I said, dubs, you start getting the playoffs, eventually Super Bowls, because that's Harbaugh's ultimate goal is, and he's been there before. You all of a sudden, Justin's standing on the podium. I don't care if he threw for 25 yards or 350 yards in a Super Bowl victory. He'll be appreciative of that. So right now, they're all trying to figure it out. It's a good problem to have. It's a great problem to have. A quarterback that because you've seen him carry the load on an inconsistent team with a head coach that had no idea what the hell he was doing. 4th and 20 on your own 1-yard line. They want to go for it. We've seen that. Now we're going to see a different Justin. And like I said, as long as he's good with it and they're all on the same page, like I said, it's all about W's more than anything. It's not about stats.
All right. So before we get into what you think the Cardinals need to do to win, you mentioned that Kyler Murray. If we always pick quarterback against quarterback? Let's just in the grand scheme of things, let's get into what the Cardinals need to do to win this game. So from wherever you want, we know that they're depleted when it comes to defensive line. What is it? Bleav Nickel, he's out for the rest of the season. Matt Prater, he is on IR, so he'll be out for at least 4 weeks. So they're addressing the depth type of thing. This is something that'll be addressed, I would imagine, in the offseason. But what do the Cardinals have to do to win this game? Is it our version of Superman? Does he have to step out the booth? How do you see this game playing if the Cardinals are going to win? Going in, BetOnline has the Chargers -2.5. So Chargers -2.5 according to BetOnline.
Yeah, I sound like a broken record. I think one, we have to run the ball and possess the ball and the clock. That's the one thing we have to do, because if we allow Harbaugh and them to do that, this game is going to be over before you know it. This game could be one of those 2-hour and 45-minute affairs if we allow them to possess the ball, run it, convert, score when they want to, and then we go out there and 3 and outs and stuff like that, and don't put any pressure on them. I'd like to see us run the ball and take some shots down the field at the same time, Jay. And I think some of that's going to come down to whether Marvin Harrison Jr. is available from that concussion. Without him, deep threat wise, we're hampered a little bit. At the same time, you play with what you have. So at some point, we got to start taking some shots down the field off of our heavy play action and running the ball. Connor should be first in line for the tub, the cold tub after this game. I'd get the ball in his hands a minimum 25 to 30 times. Kyler under center, bring this one, this game kind of into our wheelhouse. Use Kyler out on the edges, use his legs again. I keep saying it, continue to try to use his legs with some of those bootlegs and stuff like that. Get him out on the edge with throwing options. Get him going right with some patterns deep to mid range, and if nothing's there, he goes and picks up 10, 12, 15 yards or that type of thing. There's only so many ways you can describe a game plan, and then you don't see it, and we end up with these lopsided losses. I'll continue to say, until we can establish the run, and then obviously, stop their run. It's interesting how this game is going to be. I mean, this one could fly by because if they get motoring up and down the field, and the first quarter is just going to fly by. I guarantee you that. And then, like I said, if we can't stop them, allow them to run, and we also can't run, conversely, this is not going to be a good game for us. I'm continuing to wait and see the learning curve of, have we figured this out yet? I'm wondering what film is our coaching staff watching? Are they looking at the same thing you and I are watching? And hearing, you and I, we drive around the valley and we listen to others do their craft as well. And it's like, we're all saying the same thing. How many people can say the same thing? And the only people that don't know it or realize it are the people that are inside that building doing the thing. It's like, how many times you heard driving around, Jay, and you hear Jarecki, whoever it is, Cardinals need to run the ball. We need to do this. We need to establish this, and we don't see it. And then the next thing's like, well, hopefully this week, and we go another week without seeing it. So until we start doing it, I'm just like, I sound like a broken record, but hell, we got to run the ball, stop them from running it, and establish some kind of doggone identity, and control the line of scrimmage, both lines, defensively, offensively, and mix and sprinkle some big plays in there. We got to take some shots down the field. Until we do that, it's just going to be wash, rinse, repeat. Every week will be, and then occasionally they'll give us a spark of it, like that's what they need to be doing, and then they go right back to doing exactly what we say they shouldn't be doing.
So before I get your pick on that, you mentioned something I wanted to ask you about it. So you mentioned that we are the ones on the outside saying this is what you should do in order to improve or to be able to create that identity, play with the purpose, get consistency. I got them all in there.
There you go.
But if you're in the building, if you're a player, do you see those things? Are you seeing the same types of areas of opportunity, and then wondering why aren't the coaches therefore trying to change their game plan? I mean, you're sitting there. This is what if they're listening to the outside noise, they agree, or even if they're not listening to the outside noise, but inside those four walls, players are saying, what we need to do is run the ball more. What we need to do is blah, blah, blah. Do those things happen in the locker room as well?
Oh, absolutely. I remember, and I'm not going to call out the organization. I remember being in one of these organizations in the NFL, and every week you come in and you get the game plan, right? And you start, this is back in the day, or years ago, back, whatever the term we use, we had the books. So we come in every week and we get our book, and you start fingering through it, and it's like, man, this is the same old game plan we had last week, and we just got our heads bashed in last week, and all this looks the same, and not much has changed, and wow, okay. And then you go out there and you take a thumping on the head again, and then you come in the next week and get the book, and the damn thing looks the same as the week before. And
wow.
Guys, so guys start to talk, it's just inevitable. When things are going great, Jay, nobody's got a problem with anything. Everything's good. The sun is always shining. Is your favorite songs on the radio. Doesn't matter. If things are going bad, it's like everything stinks, and including the game plan. And guys know it and they see it. The problem is you can't, your job as a player is you got to go out there and perform. Too much grumbling. If you don't have the right, because you're not in the right tax bracket to be grumbling, your behind could be doing it on the unemployment line. So you keep your mouth shut. You go out there and you try to perform to the best of your ability with what you have. So, I mean, unless it's being, and I wonder in the meeting rooms, because with your quarterback, they always talk about they go over what you like, what you don't like. The quarterback he's the driver of the bus. He gets to decide what he liked, what he didn't like, and they go over that. Offensive coordinator, quarterback, and they all talk those things over. And we tried this early in the week. It didn't really gel right. The time wasn't over that. So maybe it works better out of this formation and this motion or this. They're the ones who do all the trimming of the fat. And my worry with Kyler is I don't even know if he knows what he wants because, one, I'd have him under center a whole lot. We know he doesn't like that for all the reasons we've said 1,000 times. He loves the read option more than he does under center, turning around, giving it to, Connor or whoever. And there's probably some routes he doesn't like, the stuff over the middle, because he can't see through the trees. You know why, Jay? I don't know if you know this. We have a short quarterback. I don't know if we talked about this before. We have a short quarterback.
Do you use that phrase when you when you talk to the other Bleav podcasts? Do you do that too? Do you let them know that we have a short quarterback?
Well, our listeners, though, they know exactly what I'm talking about the second I say it. Others, they're like, oh yeah, I guess you do. They think I'm talking literally sometimes, yeah, which I am. But yeah, no, I mean, so there's certain things that he will veto because he doesn't like them because they're not in his wheelhouse. He doesn't like looking over the middle of the field. He can't see over the middle of the field. So there's certain things he's going to push away. Like I said, and it becomes a battle. And right now, I don't know who's winning because I'm sure Petzing, there's a lot of things he would like to do. He doesn't get the buy-in from Kyler, so he doesn't do as much of it. And, until you start forcing Kyler out of his comfort zone and making him do more of this stuff, he'll never get comfortable with it. So it's like, what came first, chicken or the egg? So until it gets right on all sides, and at some point, somebody's going to have to say to Kyler, what we've done or what you've done in the past has been okay, but it hasn't been consistent. These are the things that we are now going to need you to do, no questions asked. Until somebody does that, I guess we're always going to be in the same place with him. Inconsistent because we're not getting consistent looks, consistent reads from him, effort, whatever it is. There's something that's just not quite curling. And and then like I said, it shows in everything we do. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. How can you play as bad a half against San Fran, then come back and play as good a half to win the game, and then go and give us what you did in Green Bay last week? It's like the highs are too high and the lows are too low, Jay. You got to find the happy medium somewhere. We have not found it, and we're always going to be a sub 500 team if we continue this. The whole philosophy of the organization, we're just going to wing it and try to figure it out, which is what it seems like we're doing until we get to a point where every week we have a tight game plan, consistent game plan. We have an adjustable game plan. Till we get to that point, it's always going to look like what we've been seeing over this last year and a half.
So, having said that, what is your prediction for Monday night? I'll go first. I'll go with 24-17, but it'll be one of those, but it won't seem like it was that close. But 24-17, maybe a late touchdown by the
all right. This was one of the games I had to pick.
24-17 Chargers. Let me say that. 24-17 Chargers.
Okay. So you're going Chargers. And I picked this one, Jay. Let me see here. Let me go to my – oh, boy. I know I picked the Chargers in this one. The score that I came up with was – what'd you say, Jay?
24-17.
I got 23-16.
Oh, see?
And I think we're both in the same mindset. The Chargers, they're not looking to score 40 points. They want to get this thing right. We're going to have some 10 and 12 play drives that end in either a field goal or the end of the quarter or whatever. All they want to do is get in and get out, and with this victory. And we're going to have limited opportunities because they're going to play keep away from us of all teams. And then we're going to get antsy, go out there a couple 3 and outs, and give the ball right back to them so they can run another 6.5 minutes off the clock. It's not going to be a lot of opportunity for scoring, and that's why I came up with this low score of 23-16. But we're right there together.
Maybe they would learn from the Detroit game, because Detroit did this. If we're right in our assumption on how the Chargers will attack the game, maybe the Cardinals have learned from what Detroit did, and they'll be able to strategize and plan accordingly, perhaps.
What has shown you that they've learned anything to this point?
We grow every day. Ed.
Okay.
We grow. We should wisdom, experience. We have the opportunity to be better today than we were the day before.
I'm still waiting for that growth then. I haven't seen adjusting or growth or anything to this point. I've seen inconsistency. And then the other thing you got to remember, because we always talk about the players on the field, we're outmatched as far as coaching too. I always take that into account when you talk about head coaching. We have all the categories: our quarterback against theirs, our offensive line against their defensive line, vice versa, our secondary against their wide receiver. They've got a coaching advantage in this one too, which like I said, if you're doing all the checking off of the list, I would say they have the majority. Now watch, the Cardinals will come out and play an A+ game, and they'll win this one by 30 points. Watch, so that's what'll happen. But I'm picking.
That'll be awesome. Then it'll be the next game that we'll be talking about. Can you do it again?
Can you do it again?
Can you do it again? All right. So on behalf of the one and only Ed Smith, my name is Javon Adams. We do this thing twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays. Unless there's a Monday night game, then we'll go on Fridays. So tell a friend about what we have going on here. As always, we are presented by Bet Online. And as we like to say around this time, you can